In this video, we are talking glare in glasses. Now, if you are a portrait photographer, or more specifically a headshot photographer, or you do headshots, you are eventually going to have the client that has glasses. And if they have glasses and you're using off-camera flash, or if there's a large light source, a window, the sun, something like that, you're going to run into the issue of glare. And I've always found it to be very unprofessional to say, can you take your glasses off so I could take the shot? As photographers, we should be able to handle that, and I want to tackle that in this video. So basically, glare is very simple. It is light hitting the surface of your glasses, and then that light is bouncing off in the same angle that it hits the surface. Okay, so if I was standing in front of the camera like this and we had a light source that was right in front, that light is going to hit the surface of my glasses. It is going to bounce back in the same angle, same direction, and it's going to come back, and you're going to see that reflection in the camera. Now, of course, that can be very distracting. In a lot of cases, it steals the attention, especially when you're doing a very tight-end headshot. And so we don't want that. We want to get rid of the glare. So how can we do that? I'm going to tell you. There's a few ways that you can deal with the glare in the glasses. One way is the obvious way, moving the light source. Okay, so if I'm standing here and we had the light in front, we can move the light over this way, or we can angle the light. You can change the physical direction, or you could change the angle. And so that way, when you do that, if you move the light over to this way, now the light's going to hit this way and it's going to bounce off this way. So now we may not see that in the camera. Or if you have the higher angle, it's going to bounce off and then it's going to bounce down. You're not going to see that. So you can move the light. The other option that you have is to move the camera. In moving the camera, you're essentially doing the same thing that you're doing when you move the light. It all really just depends on what options you have. You might be in a situation where your camera really is where it is and you don't want to move it, so you can move the light. Or you may be in a situation where it's too much of a hassle to try to move the light, so you can move the camera. Either way, it's doing the same thing. It is essentially changing what the camera is seeing, and therefore you're removing it out of the line of sight, out of the reflection of the light source off of the surface. You also can move your subject. Okay, so again, if that light source was right coming this way, it was right above camera. If you have your subject kind of face this way and look this way, again, we're simply changing the angle that things are hitting the glasses, and we're changing what the camera lens can see. So we're essentially achieving the same purpose. You also can have your client just tilt their glasses down a little bit. Now, we're not saying tilt them all the way down to where they look ridiculous, okay? We're literally talking just a slight, just bring them down just a little bit. And it's something that you can't notice when you take the picture. It doesn't look off when you take the picture, but it does change the angle of the glasses, and therefore that changes the angle of the reflection, and you can eliminate it that way. So those are the four main options. Now, you may have heard of using a polarizer, because if you think about what a polarizer does and why people use polarizers, they use it to cut through the glare. It reduces the glare on reflective surfaces. What I can tell you is that that does not work. I can't say it doesn't work ever, but I can tell you that it doesn't work consistently enough to use that and rely on that as a source to get rid of the glare. I have tried to use a polarizer, and I have placed the camera in every angle and direction possible, and the polarizer really has no effect on the glare coming into the glasses. And I can't really get into the scientific reason of why it doesn't work, but I can tell you it doesn't work. If you don't believe me, try it. You'll see. Okay, so that's not really an option to use a polarizer. I will say it does help when you have a larger light source. Now, it's not to say that the reflections aren't still going to be apparent, but if you're going to take the shot and leave the reflections in, when you have a larger light source, the reflection tends to basically be reflected in the entire surface of the glasses. And so even though that reflection is there, it doesn't draw as much attention as a smaller light source would. And you would see just a little bit, you would see that light very small in the glasses. That would be distracting. So if you have the option to use a larger source, that will help. What I don't recommend is to take the shot and rely on Photoshop or some other program to fix it. Obviously, if you've been watching my videos, you know I am not an advocate for relying on Photoshop, and I think it's very risky to take a shot and to assume that you'll be able to fix it in post. It's not to say that you can't. I've done that myself, but I prefer not to do that. But a tip, if you are going to rely on post to fix it, what I recommend you do is take one shot of your subject with the glasses on, ask them to be completely still, and then remove the glasses and take a shot with the glasses off. Now, when you get back into post, you get into Photoshop, you can use that shot where they have removed the glasses to fix the reflection part of the shot that you want to keep with the glasses. So that does help. Again, you would want them to stay as still as possible, so that way it makes it easy for you to line things up. If you don't do that, you also can, provided that the reflection is only in one lens, you can use the other eye, copy that, flip it, and then you can fix it that way. I've done that in post as well, and it does work very well, provided that the reflection isn't on that eye as well. If you encounter an issue where you have the reflection on both eyes, I'm not saying it can't be fixed. If you're really, really good at Photoshop, it can be. I'm not that great at Photoshop, so I would be pretty hosed. You just make it harder for yourself. As photographers, we want to be out shooting. We don't want to be sitting in front of a computer fixing things that we could have fixed while we were on location. So now that I got that out the way, let's go and use my trusty mannequin and let's put this to work so that way you can see real world how this all functions. Okay, so before I jump into this, let me first just say we are going to be looking at the reflection right in this area here. There's obviously a lot of window light, so I'm getting a lot of reflections from the window that for the sake of the video, I'm not going to be able to eliminate those. So again, we're just going to focus right here on the light source that I have in the scene, adding the light. That is what we're going to be addressing. So if you look at that, you can see clearly we have a reflection from my off-camera lighting. And right now the position of it is camera left, but it is very straight on to the subject at camera left. So of course we would expect to get that reflection coming off and bouncing back into the lens because of how it is placed. So first we're going to look at moving the light, adjusting the light. Okay, so if we first just adjust the angle of the light, as you can see in this particular case, the only way to get rid of it would be to angle it up. And you can kind of see what that's doing to the light on the face. That wouldn't be very flattering. So in this particular instance, angling it down or keeping it there doesn't really do much because of where it's placed in terms of the height. Okay, so if we move this light up, you will see that as I move that light source up, it gets rid of that reflection. So now that reflection is gone, and now we can adjust the angle of the light. And you can see when I angle it down there, you can see this kind of creeping into the frame a little bit, into the glasses a little bit. But if I angle that back up just a little bit, now we can get rid of it. So you can see how adjusting the light impacts whether or not you can see that reflection. Now, you can also see that as I adjust that light, is the pattern of light changing on the subject? Absolutely. Okay, so that is something that you're going to have to contend with, and you can contend with that quite easily by using another light source or using a reflector or choosing a pattern of light that works for not having glare in the glasses. Okay, so let's lock that back in. Let's bring it back down. Okay, so now they're back there. Okay, so now the second thing that you can do is change your position. Now you can see when we come over here, what are we seeing? We're seeing even more reflection in those glasses. So if I were to come over this way, I'm going to cross over the light a little bit there. But if I come over on this side, now you can see that reflection is gone. We don't see it because the position of the camera, we're simply not seeing it. Now, is this completely changing your look if they were to continue looking that way? Absolutely. Okay. And if I were to move the subject and have them face this way, you could have them face you this way, and you could eliminate a little bit of the glare that way. Okay. So let's put this back on the tripod here. Okay. So the third thing you could do is reposition your subject. Okay. So if we were to kind of move the mannequin that way, you can see that we've eliminated the glare that way. Now, of course, this mannequin's neck doesn't move, so I can't I can't move her neck to move her head to face, but you could have your subject still look at the camera. Just understand, if they bring their head right back to the same position, you're going to get the same glare. So you can't just move their body and keep their head in the same spot and expect the glare not to be there. So you do have to get creative in how you're posing them, and you just have to play around with it. Move them just enough to eliminate the glare and then get your shot, okay? And then lastly, what you can try to do, and it's not going to help so much with where I have the light right now, but you can just bring the glasses down just a little bit, and that will help. Again, that's not going to do anything where it is now because it's so low. So let me just move it up just a little bit here. Okay, so let's bring those back up. And let's bring it down just enough, a little bit more, to where you can see it in there. Okay. So right there, you can see where that's at. You can see that right there at the top, right in this area right here, you can see where the light is reflecting off. Okay. So if we simply just bring those down just a little bit, and if you look, you really can't tell. Now, you'll know that I did it because you saw me do it, but if you just saw the image, you really wouldn't be able to tell. You can get rid of the glare that way. So there is kind of a real world practical, well, I won't say this isn't real world, it's a mannequin. It's certainly not real world, but this just kind of illustrates it. Okay, so there you have it. The key to this is simply moving things, adjusting, and seeing how it plays out. If you have a modeling light on your light source, that definitely helps. You can then just adjust it without having to take pictures. But if you don't, then take pictures and adjust where you need to adjust. The key is simply moving things, changing the angle, changing the direction, and you can eliminate that glare. I do want to emphasize again that as you move that light source, it's absolutely going to change the light pattern on your subject. So you do have to keep that in mind and get creative. There's ways to work around it, again, using a reflector or using multiple lights. If you do that in a combination, you certainly can adjust things to a way where you get the light that you want on your subject and you eliminate the glare. And if all else fails, you certainly can rely on post. So I hope this was helpful. I apologize that illustrating it did not go as smooth as I thought. I wasn't thinking that I was going to have to take the camera off of the tripod. So that didn't quite go as smooth as I was thinking it was going to. But hopefully you get the idea of what I was trying to say and I was trying to illustrate. So I encourage you to try this with your stuff so that you understand the way it works, so that you're not figuring this out when you're with a client. That is the key to being a great photographer, is practicing. Do things like this, get a mannequin, get a friend, get someone in, try these things out so that when you're on a job and you're with a client, you look like you know what you're doing, and you do know what you're doing, and you're able to tackle things like this with no problem. When I do headshots, I'm not the least bit concerned about glasses, and I never ask them to take their glasses off. I do ask them if they prefer to have them on or off, because sometimes people with glasses prefer to take pictures without them, but I never ask them to take them off because there's going to be glare. That's just unprofessional. So as always, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions at all, drop those down in the comment. If you want to bash me, whatever, don't waste your time because I don't care. I know this video was not as smooth as some of the other ones, but you get the point. So as always, please continue to be safe. Please continue to be healthy. Hopefully you are getting out there, you are shooting, you are knocking the dust off of your equipment, and you are making some amazing shots. So as always, until next time, take care.